I went to surprise my pregnant daughter, but instead I found her collapsed on the floor. And while she was fighting for her life, her husband wasn't by her side. He was on a yacht, celebrating with another woman. That's when I sent him 6 words. And his face went pale instantly. Backhand index pointing right. If you believe no mother should ever watch her child suffer because of betrayal, make sure to subscribe. Because this is my story. My name is Helen Carter. I live in a quiet suburb outside Boston, in a small house that has seen better days. My world is simple. Laundry piles in the corner, the smell of detergent in the air, and the never-ending effort of cleaning up messes, most of which aren't even mine. That was my life. Until one phone call changed everything. The phone rang, slicing through the silence of the afternoon. On the screen her name appeared, Emily. My daughter, 8 months pregnant. A rush of worry gripped me as I answered. Her voice was faint, fragile, almost ghostly. Mom, my stomach, it hurts. I don't feel well. Before I could ask a single question, I heard her gasp desperately. And then nothing. The line went dead. Emily! I shouted into the phone, redialing again and again. No answer. Panic clawed at my chest. Emily! I grabbed my worn-out purse, threw on my coat, and ran outside without even locking the door. The heavy Boston heat pressed down on me as I waved frantically for a cab. My voice trembled as I gave the driver her address. 112 Maple Drive. Please hurry. The cab sped off. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I texted her husband, Daniel. Emily is sick. Where are you? No reply. Called. Straight to voicemail. Again and again. Nothing. Rage began to boil beneath my fear. Where the hell was he when she needed him most? When the taxi screeched to a halt, I threw open the door and ran toward Emily's house. The front door was half open. My chest tightened. I pushed it wider, my voice trembling. Emily! Honey, it's Mom. The living room was chaos. A lamp lay broken on the floor, red liquid dripping from the sofa, an overturned chair pushed into the corner. And then I saw her. My daughter was lying on her side, one hand clutching her pregnant belly, her face pale as snow. She wasn't moving. Emily! I fell to my knees, shaking her gently at first, then harder. Wake up, baby. Mom's here. Please. Her skin was clammy, her lips nearly blue. My vision blurred with tears, but I forced myself to stay focused. With trembling fingers, I dialed 911. My daughter, she's unconscious. She's 8 months pregnant. Please send an ambulance now. 112 Maple Drive. The minutes before the sirens arrived stretched into a nightmare. I sat beside her, stroking her hair with one hand, holding her cold fingers with the other. Stay with me, sweetheart. Just hold on. At last, the paramedics burst in. The stretcher, the oxygen mask, the frantic voices. It all blurred together. Inside the ambulance, one medic's words struck me like a hammer. The baby's heart is still beating, but it's weak. We need an emergency C-section. My daughter was slipping away, and her husband, my so-called son-in-law, was nowhere to be found. The ambulance tore through the streets, sirens wailing, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart. Emily lay pale and motionless, the machines around her beeping in desperate rhythm. At the hospital, the double doors flew open. Doctors rushed her inside, their words fast and sharp. Obstetric emergency. Severe hemorrhage. Prep the OR for C-section now. I tried to follow, clutching her hand until a nurse stopped me with a firm grip on my shoulder. You have to wait here, ma'am. We'll do everything we can. The door shut in my face, leaving me in the cold, sterile hallway. I collapsed onto a plastic chair, hands trembling, every second dragging like an eternity. An hour passed before a doctor appeared, exhaustion written across his face. Are you Emily's mother? Yes. My voice cracked. We delivered the baby. It's a boy. He's premature. He's in the NICU on assisted breathing. Your daughter. She suffered a major hemorrhage. She's in a coma and has been transferred to intensive care. Boy. My grandson. Premature. Coma. The words spun around me until the world blurred. The following hours became a cruel cycle. I went back and forth between 2 rooms of agony. In the NICU, I pressed my hand to the glass, whispering to the fragile baby surrounded by tubes. Fight, little one. Please fight. Then to the ICU, where Emily lay pale and still, machines keeping her alive. I held her limp hand, whispering, "Wake up, baby. Your son needs you." Every few minutes I pulled out my phone. I texted Daniel again. "Emily is critical. Get to the hospital now." No response. Voicemail. Silence. By midnight, exhaustion weighed me down. I slumped in a chair outside ICU when laughter broke the silence. A group of young women were huddled around a phone, watching a video. One of them squealed, "Oh my God, that's so romantic. He proposed on a yacht." My head turned instinctively. The glow of the screen lit up a familiar face. Daniel, dressed in white, champagne in hand, slipping a diamond ring onto the finger of a woman in a red bikini. Fireworks burst behind them as he kissed her to a round of applause. The air left my lungs in a painful rush. My daughter was in a coma. My grandson was clinging to life. And her husband, her betrayer, was out on a yacht proposing to another woman. "Do you want to see?" the girl asked, noticing my stare. I nodded faintly. "Play it again." And I watched. Again and again, each detail carving itself into my memory like a scar. His smile, her laughter, the crowd cheering. Just then I remembered Emily's phone. I had shoved it into my purse in the chaos earlier. With trembling hands I pulled it out. The cracked screen lit up, and I opened her messages. The first text was a death blow. "Your husband is mine." Attached was a photo. Daniel in the same white suit, his arms wrapped around the woman from the video. I opened the security camera app on her phone. I watched Emily, alone in her living room, pale and terrified, as she read that message. She tried to call. Her weak whisper filled the air. "Daniel, where are you?" Then I saw her stumble, knock over the chair, collapse to the floor. I watched the video again and again until the truth burned in me like fire. That message hadn't just broken her heart. It had triggered the collapse that nearly killed her. Tears blurred my eyes, but I steadied my hands. I saved the video, the screenshots, the photos. Evidence. Ammunition. I was no longer just a grieving mother. I was a soldier. And Daniel had just declared war. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I sat in the hard hospital chair, my phone glowing in my hands, rage keeping me awake. Every time I closed my eyes I saw Emily's face. Her lips pale, her body motionless, tubes everywhere. And then, like a dagger, Daniel's smile on that yacht flashed in my mind. By dawn, my grief had hardened into resolve. If Daniel thought he could abandon my daughter and unborn grandchild, humiliate her, and walk away free, he was wrong. I started with his social media. It was easy. His yacht celebration was plastered all over his friends' feeds. People tagged him, laughed, congratulated him. The betrayal was public, loud, and undeniable. Screenshot after screenshot, I captured it all. Him pouring champagne into another woman's mouth. Him kissing her while fireworks burst behind them. Him holding her hand, slipping on a ring. Then I turned to Emily's phone. The messages were even worse. The mistress taunting her. Daniel ignoring her desperate calls. The timestamp of his betrayal matching the very moment Emily collapsed. Piece by piece I built the case. But evidence wasn't enough. I wanted to strike where it hurt. Daniel loved 2 things. Money and image. I was going to rip both away from him. First I called my lawyer. "I need to know if we can move on my daughter's behalf," I said, voice steady despite the storm inside me. Her husband abandoned her in medical crisis and publicly flaunted infidelity. I want full custody of the child secured under her name. And I want his assets frozen before he gets clever. There was a pause, then a sharp intake of breath. "We can file immediately." Given her condition, you can act as guardian ad litem. But, do you have proof? I smiled coldly. More than enough. While paperwork was drafted, I made my next call. To Daniel's company. He worked for my late husband's old firm, a place where loyalty and reputation mattered. When the CEO answered, I didn't waste time. Do you know where your employee Daniel Evans was last night? Of course, he's on sick leave. His wife is due to give birth any day. I sent the CEO one photo. Daniel kissing the bikini-clad woman. Fireworks exploding in the background. Seconds later, the man's voice returned, grim and clipped. Consider him terminated. Immediately. One by one I dismantled him. His job gone. His accounts, frozen under court order. His reputation, poisoned with undeniable proof. By the time Daniel finally called me back, his voice was thick with arrogance. Helen, I heard Emily's in the hospital. Don't worry, I'll check on her when I can. Things have just been busy. I almost laughed. Busy. On a yacht with another woman. Busy proposing while his wife nearly bled to death. Daniel, I said softly, dangerously calm, do you know where your wife is right now? He hesitated. The hospital. She's in a coma. She nearly died. Your son is in the NICU. And you were too busy playing house with your mistress to answer a single call. Silence. Then a scoff. Look, Helen, you don't understand. Emily's fragile. She always overreacts. And as for my personal life, that's none of your concern. That was when I delivered the 6 words that turned his arrogance to ash. Everything you own is already gone. I could hear it, the sharp inhale, the crack in his voice. What do you mean? But I didn't answer. Hung up. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of peace. My daughter still lay in a coma. My grandson still fought for breath. But Daniel was finally drowning in the chaos he had created. And I was just getting started. The next morning, I walked into the hospital with my head held high. Daniel had not shown up, not once. Not to the ICU, not to the NICU. Not even to ask how Emily was. But his mistress did. I noticed her before she noticed me. She walked down the corridor in high heels that clicked against the tiles, carrying a bouquet of roses and a smug smile. She looked around as though she owned the place. Excuse me, I said, stepping into her path. Who are those for? She glanced at me with disdain. They're for Daniel's fiancé. The words hit me like acid. My jaw tightened. Daniel's wife is in intensive care. That woman you call fiancé nearly killed her. The mistress smirked. Wife, please. He told me their marriage was dead months ago. He only stayed because she was pregnant. But don't worry, once the divorce is filed, he'll be free. I stepped closer, my voice low, steady, and sharp enough to cut. There will be no divorce. Not until the courts are done with him. And as for you, thank you for handing me more evidence. Her smile faltered for the first time. Evidence. I lifted my phone and tapped the screen. The recording app glowed red. Every word she had just said was captured. Proof that Daniel had been plotting to abandon Emily. Proof of emotional abuse. Proof of betrayal while his wife was fighting for her life. The color drained from her face. You can't. Oh, but I can. And I will. She spun on her heel and stormed out, her roses trailing a few petals on the sterile floor. By noon, I was sitting across from my lawyer again. The evidence was overwhelming now. The video, the screenshots, the mistress's confession. My lawyer's eyes gleamed. This is airtight. Custody, financial damages, divorce settlement. It's all falling in your favor. Daniel will be stripped bare. That evening, the hospital corridor echoed with angry footsteps. Daniel finally arrived. But this wasn't the arrogant man from the yacht videos. This was a broken shell. His hair was disheveled, his eyes bloodshot. His phone in his hand flashing with missed calls. Helen, he said, voice trembling. We need to talk. My accounts are locked. My boss fired me. I can't access anything. What did you do? I looked at him, calm and cold. What you forced me to do. Protect my daughter. Protect my grandson. He dragged his hands through his hair, pacing like a trapped animal. You don't understand. That woman, she tricked me. She said she promised. Cut him off. You don't get to blame anyone else, Daniel. While your wife lay in a coma, you were proposing to another woman. While your son fought for his first breath, you were pouring champagne on a yacht. Every decision was yours. His eyes darted toward the ICU doors. Is Emily awake? No, I said, my voice heavy. But when she does wake up, I'll make sure the first thing she sees is that you no longer have power over her. For once, Daniel was silent. He sank into a chair, head in his hands. The weight of what he had lost pressed down on him at last. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because justice wasn't only about tearing him down. It was about rebuilding Emily's life stronger than ever. And when the court date finally came, I would make sure every person in that room saw Daniel Evans for who he truly was. A coward, a betrayer, and a man unworthy of the family he destroyed. 2 weeks later, the day of the court hearing arrived. Emily was still in the ICU. Her body fragile but holding on. My grandson, though still tiny and weak, had started breathing on his own. Hope flickered like the first light of dawn. Daniel, however, looked like he hadn't slept in days. His expensive suits were gone. He wore an ill-fitting jacket, his face unshaven. The mistress wasn't beside him anymore. She had disappeared the moment his money and reputation crumbled. The courtroom was silent as the judge entered. Papers rustled. My lawyer stood tall, his voice sharp and clear. Your Honor, we present indisputable evidence of infidelity, abandonment, and emotional cruelty. Mr. Evans neglected his pregnant wife in her most critical moment and publicly flaunted his betrayal. We request full custody of the child be awarded to Mrs. Emily Evans, with the grandmother acting as temporary guardian until she recovers. Furthermore, we request seizure of joint marital assets to secure medical expenses and damages. The judge adjusted his glasses, reviewing the documents, the photos, the videos, the audio recording of Daniel's mistress. Every piece was damning. When it was Daniel's turn, he stumbled through excuses. She's overreacting. I didn't mean for this to happen. I love my wife. The judge slammed his gavel once. Mr. Evans, your actions speak louder than your words. The evidence presented shows a pattern of deliberate betrayal and neglect. Custody is hereby granted to Mrs. Evans. Financial damages are approved. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. It was done. Daniel had lost everything. He turned toward me, his face pale, lips trembling. Helen, please. You can't do this. I made a mistake, but I can change. Don't take my son from me. I rose slowly, looking him dead in the eye. My voice was steady, sharper than steel. You already lost him the moment you chose champagne over responsibility, betrayal over love. My daughter and grandson deserve better than you. He sank into his chair, defeated, broken. For the first time, Daniel Evans had no words left. Days later, I sat beside Emily's hospital bed, holding her hand. Her eyelids fluttered and at long last, her eyes opened. Mom, she whispered, her voice fragile. Tears blurred my vision. I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe. She looked around, confusion in her gaze. Where's Daniel? I stroked her hair gently. Gone. Forever. You never have to worry about him again. Her eyes welled with tears, but this time they weren't from pain. She turned her head slightly, and through the glass window of the ICU, she saw a nurse wheeling in a small incubator. Inside lay her baby boy, tiny but alive. Her trembling hand reached out toward him. My son. Yes, I whispered, my own tears falling freely. Your son. Yours alone. In that moment, everything Daniel had tried to destroy was reborn stronger. Emily had her child. I had my daughter back. And together we had built a future without him. Daniel, stripped of wealth, reputation, and family, became nothing more than a memory, a warning of what betrayal costs. And as I held my daughter's hand, watching her gaze at her newborn with love shining through her tears, I knew this was the greatest revenge of all. 'Cause we had survived. And he hadn't. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of the story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.